concept. First of all, what is object oriented programming paradigm? Remember, before object oriented, we have one concept is there, that is a procedure oriented programming. What is this procedure oriented paradigm? Remember, this is not a programming language. This is one paradigm. That means it has some features, it has some properties. A programming language that uses this property. C is the programming language that supports procedure oriented programming. Procedure means functions. That means in C programming, that is in procedure oriented, the main aspect is on functions. How do write a program? How do we divide the program into different modules? Module in the sense the functions, different modules, and interrelation among these modules. That entire structure, that means the main concentrated is on the structure of the program, that is procedure oriented. That procedure oriented is implemented in C programming language. Similarly, object oriented also some features. For example, here object oriented programming, the main paradigm is based on data. There, the concept main concentration is on procedures or structures. In object oriented programming, the main concentration is on data. Data means my information. Okay, now these object oriented programming paradigms are implemented by different programming languages, mainly Java. Mainly Java. Okay. Then what about Python? Sir, is Python is procedure oriented or object oriented? Remember, again for this the answer is C is completely procedure oriented. Java is completely object oriented. Python supports both procedure oriented and object oriented. So the best features for the procedure oriented are implemented in Python. The best features from object oriented programming are implemented in Python. Okay, that's the point. Now, what are the features of object oriented programming? Whenever we come to this two concept, two important terms, class, object. If anyone know Java, suppose among you, if anyone know Java, in Java also the concepts are same. Whenever object oriented programming comes, we have some set of features: class, object, inheritance, polymorphism, encapsulation, abstraction. After that, multi-threading, exception handling, some set of features are available. Again I will remember, again I repeat, remember, these are not features of Python, these are not features of Java. All these are features of object oriented programming. That features are implemented in one way in Python. The same set of features are implemented in another way, Java. You think you got it? I given a question to you, one student solve the problem, but finally my answer is same. One student follow one procedure, another student follow one procedure, but finally my requirements is satisfied. Now you got it? Before going to the additional, first you need to know these important two terms. Why? Because object oriented means the concept is class to object. First of all, what is a class? Class is simply a logical structure, or class is a blueprint. What is the meaning of this logical structure? What is a blueprint? And the purpose of class is to generate objects. Purpose of class is to generate objects. I don't know object, then how do we generate object? I will give you one example. For example, in the real time, anyone said Is fruit is existed in the real time? Remember, fruit is not existed in the real life. Fruit is not existed. Understand my point? Apple is existed, orange is existed, grapes are existed, banana existed, but the fruit is not existed. Now you got the point. Logically, everything we called as a fruit. For that fruit, some properties are there. So for the fruit, some properties also called as attributes, some behavior. Each and every fruit have some properties and some behavior. For example, properties in the sense color of the fruit, taste of the fruit, price, etc. Behavior in the sense, so whatever doing, suppose eating, slicing, etc., etc. So whoever provide this one, that is an object. Now what is an object? Object is instance of a class. Instance of a class means simple thing. I given one application form to you, or anyway every day by the end of the session you are filling one Google form. That Google form has no existence. There is no use of that Google form if you are not filled that form. That Google form is called a class. For example, if I filled the Google form, one page is created with your reference, that is an object. Suppose the same form is filled by multiple number of students. For example, 100 students filled the form, 100 objects are created. Each object have their own memory. So one student data is not overridden with other student data, yes or no? Each student have their own memory, that is object. Suppose if I given color is equal to red, shape is equal to circle, taste is equal to switch, for example behavior slicing, if I given all these values, then that is an apple. Apple is existed in the real world. Now you got it. Class is a logical structure or a blueprint which consists of some properties and behavior. Properties and behavior. The purpose of class is to generate object. Now, what is an object? Object is instance of a class. Instance means if you are given values to the properties. If you are given values to the property, that is an object. I think everyone understands the definition of class and object. For example, student, all of them commonly called as student, but student is not existed. So for example, x is existed, y is existed, z is existed. Think you got it? Now in Python, again I repeat, this definition is common in Java, in Python, in C++, whatever programming language, the definition is common. What is the difference? The way to provide structure, the way to create an object, the way we access the members, that is the difference. Now we are implementing this object oriented in Python. How? So before that, you need to know the syntax of creating a class. Class is the keyword. So class is the keyword followed by name of the class. Class is the keyword followed by name of the class colon. I think you already know the meaning of colon. Once you give colon and press enter, we have some indentation is there. All the set of statements with that indentation belongs to class. Exactly what we written for function, what we written for loops, what we written for if statements. Okay, class, class name. Here we are writing the set of statements. What are those? The properties and behavior. We are writing the set of statements, properties and behavior. This is a class. But remember, For this class, the memory is not at all allocated. Memory is not allocated. Once a class is created, there is no use until you create an object. If you are creating an object, then only this is used. Now, how do we create an object? That is the next syntax. Object creation is some reference variable is equal to class name of. Reference variable means the variable that refer the class. The variable that refer the class. This is called object. So simply object name is equal to class name. What is the use of this class name? Observe, in my program I have 5 classes. Assume in my program I have 5 classes. Remember, a program can consist of any number of classes. There is no restriction. 5 classes. Now, if you are creating an object for class 1, then by using that object we can access the members of class 1 only. Yes or no? For example, coming to multi-screen theater, you are booked a movie ticket for screen 3, then you are allowed for screen 3 only, not for screen 1, not for screen 2, not for screen 4. Exactly. You are creating an object for a, that means in a single program can consist of multiple classes. If you are creating an object for one class, by using that object we can access the members of that class. Members in the sense the properties and behavior. Now, how do we access the members? Object name dot member. We can access object name dot member. By using this one, we can access the member. Now, here, this is the indentation. With the same indentation, suppose some object is equal to class name of. Okay. This is the syntax for creating a class and an object. Creating a class and an object. For example, create one class student. Create one class student. Here, what you are doing? Within the class you have some properties. I said some properties are attribute and behavior. Generally these properties are called variables. Properties are called variables, and this behavior is called method. Remember, right now everyone know what is a variable. Variable is simply an identifier to store some value. What is meant by method? Right now you don't know method. Yes, everyone know method also. A function is called a method. The difference is the same function, same logic. Def space name of the function, parameters with the function, writing set of statements. The function is called method. What is the difference? If you are writing the same function inside a class, then that function is called method. Understand the difference? If you are writing simply without in any class, that is called a function. The same thing, if you return inside a class, that function is called method. That is the difference between function and method. Now, 4 terms are known. One more term is the most important 5 terms you need to know for writing one program. What is the first term? What is a class? Okay, class definition is clear. How to create a class is fine. Second one, what is an object? How to create an object? Third one, within the class, you are writing the variables, you are writing the methods. Okay, now the most important one is there, that is constructor plays very, 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 very crucial role in any object oriented programming. Every program, whatever the program you return with the class, that class must include consists of constructor. Without constructor there is nothing happened in our Java or in our Python. Simply in object oriented programming, constructor is compulsory. How a class name is compulsory, similarly a constructor is compulsory for every Java or every Python program. What is a constructor? Constructor, the purpose is to initialize the variables. Initialize variables. What is mean by this initialization? In my program, I have some variables are there. Suppose roll number, name, age, like that. Some variables are there. You, for example, student one, you to give the values for student one. Roll number one, no name ABC, age 20. Student two, roll number three, suppose roll number two, name XYZ, do age 30. Like this, each student give some values. So assigning values to the variables is called initialization. For that initialization purpose, we are using constructor. Now, how the constructor is executed? Very, very important. Everyone follow carefully. Why? In every interview, this question is asked. Whenever we are creating an object, whenever we are creating an object, the constructor is executed automatically. Means you no need to call the constructor. Suppose in your program one function is there, ignore method, a function is there. When a function is executed, whenever we call the function, then only the function is executed. Similarly, in a class we have a method. Whenever we call the method, then only the method is executed. If you are not calling the method is not executed. But constructor, you no need to call. Whenever we are creating an object, the constructor is executed automatically. Once that constructor is executed, some memory is assigned. How? This one. This is the calling of the constructor. Now, here within the class you are writing the constructor. Within the class you are writing the variables. Now follow the order. In the class you are writing the variable, and if you want to initialize, you are writing the constructor, and any methods are there, you are writing the methods. Any methods are there, you are writing the methods. Now an object is created, call the constructor. In Java, the name of the constructor is same as class name. Suppose if my class name is student, the constructor name is student, fixed, don't worry. Suppose the class name is employee, constructor name is employee, you are not allowed to give any other name. Suppose if you are given any other name other than class, system consider that as a method, not a constructor. But in Python, whatever the class name, the constructor name is fixed. Double underscore init double underscore. The double underscore init double underscore. The name of the constructor is fixed. The name of the constructor is whatever the class name. This is constructor. Whenever an object is created, this one, even though here the class name, this simply internally calls the constructor. This internally calls the constructor. Now clear? Now the last point I will tell you is self parameter. Now, what are the reference variable? Reference variable means the variable which refer the current object. The variable that refers the current object is called simply a reference variable. Right now, you need to know one more parameter. Once this parameter is clear, then we will write one program related to all these topics, whatever we discussed. What is self? Remember, self is a default variable. Default variable. Self is used to refer the current object. Self is used to refer or to point the current object. What is mean by current object? For example, so five objects are created. Yes or no? For a single class, any number of objects are created. Suppose if object 1 is executed, your memory related to object 1 only. So to refer that same memory location, we are using self keyword. We are using self keyword. Remember, self is the first parameter in any constructor or method. Self is the two parameter in any constructor or any method. Now I will write one simple program related to all this. Anyway, extend the topic, not a problem. Okay. Now, first step by step procedure, understand carefully. Create a class. Okay, keyword followed by some class name. Whatever the name want, you can give that class name. So, all are you students? That is the reason I given student. Okay, within the class you are writing the constructor. How? Constructor is similar to a method, so def is the keyword. Def is the keyword. The constructor name is fixed. Whatever the class name, the name of the constructor is fixed. Double underscore init double underscore. What is the first parameter? That is also fixed self. While calling, you no need to pass any parameters for self. So double underscore init double underscore self. Okay. Now give any parameters. What are the things you required? For example, I need roll number, some name, some age. Roll number, name, age. Whatever you require, you can write. All these are parameters. You know the concept of method. Exactly, these are parameters. Now, self dot RNO is equal to RNO. What is the meaning? Understand carefully. This left to side, whatever I highlighted, that is a variable. In Python, no need to declare the variable in advance. Whenever you need, you can write. That is the reason. Here, left to side is a variable, right side is this RNO. For example, here I written A. Now A. Now you got it? So RNO is the variable. For that, I am passing the value A. Sir, but you are instead of taking why A is taken, instead of taking RNO, A is taken, you can take either A, B, C, any name. But while writing the program, so variables and parameters are same. Even though you are not using the same variable names, not a problem. Just for assignment, okay, by seeing that roll number is equal to roll number, self dot name is equal to name, self dot age is equal to age. I think you got it. The left to side roll number, name, age, three variables are created. Self refers all the three variables belongs to current object. Now, what happened in this constructor? Initialization only. Initialization means assign the value anyway, even though you are not getting, not a problem. Now, okay, three variables. Observe the indentation. Constructor is completed. Next, I will write one method, display. Within the method, the first parameter is self. I think you got it. Within a class, whether you return a constructor or whether you return a method, the first parameter is self. Within this one, what I am doing, roll number is equal to, just I am printing all the values. So my display method, what I am doing, just I am doing some print operation, comma, name. Now, what happened till now? Nothing happened. Till now, a class is created, one constructor is there, which is used for initialization, one method display is there, which is used for printing the values, But remember, here you are using self dot to refer the current object. So, anyway, here also you need to write self dot. I will explain that the concept is not at all completed. By the end, I will explain in detail, not a problem. First, to understand everything accessed by using self dot. Now, this is the time for creating an object. Observe the indentation from the starting. S1 object name is equal to student of. So this is, I already said, this is, I forgot to close. Yes, this is calling of a constructor. This is calling of a constructor. That means whenever you are calling this one, this is executed automatically. While this is executed, you already know the function concept. Required parameters. How many parameters? Here, three parameters. Ignore the self. Three parameters are there. For example, a function consists of some three parameters. While calling the function, you need to pass three values. So, whenever you are calling, this is called calling. This is executed, but it gives an error. Why? Here three parameters are there. Now I am passing three parameters. 1 comma, for example, ABC, comma 20. Now I think you got it. First, this statement is executed. Again, I will repeat what happened. This class is not at all executed. Whenever this statement is executed, first this one. So simply what happened, going to the student class, within the, here class name is student class, within the class one constructor is there, execute the constructor. By initializing it, takes this roll number, takes a value 1, that one is assigned to here. ABC is assigned to name, this name is assigned to this one. 20 is assigned to age. This is 20. Simply 20 is assigned to age. Once all are created, some memory is allocated. Within that memory, all the information is stored. Now that address is available in S1. You got it? In memory location is stored. Whatever the memory location, that is the address. That address is available in S1. Now, how can we access members? Either a variable or a method, s1 dot call display self only parameter, no need to pass anything for the self. Whenever you are calling s1 dot display, within that memory location. Already S1 consists of address. Within this address, whatever the display happened, the display is executed. So it simply display the roll number, name and age. One second, it will be loaded. Okay. Copy. Open IDLE one more time. One second, please. Maybe the IDLE stuck. See this one executed. Roll number is equal to 1, name is equal to ABC, age is equal to 20. I think you clear. For this, the memory is allocated. Now I will show you. I will close all this one. No. Here, like this, you can create any number of objects. S2 is equal to student of 2 comma some name XYZ comma 30. Name XYZ comma 30. Now student 1 has separate memory, student 2 have separate memory. ID of S1, what is meaning of ID? Address. ID of S2, here parallelly I am printing address of S1 and address of S2. See this one, roll number, these are the details of student 1, these are details of student 2, this is address of student 1, this is address of student 2. I think the program is clear. From this what we learn, how to create a class, fine, and how to initialize the variables whenever we are calling the constructor. Whenever we are sorry, whenever we are creating an object, the constructor is executed automatically and initialize the variable. Remember, per object, per one object, a constructor is executed only one time. Yes or no? Suppose if you return S1 is equal to student of, only one time is executed. If a method is there, you can call the method any number of times. Suppose if I call S1 dot display, This is executed. If I return one more time, that is not a problem. So the same display method is executed for the second time also. Here what is the thing? Per one object, a constructor is executed only one time, but per a method we can call any number of times. Now one more important thing, I already said every program must and should consist of a constructor. Suppose if my program does not require any properties, any variables, just I return within the class, I return one display function, print hello, how are you? Then the constructor is not required. Even you are creating an object, even though you are creating an object, suppose see this one, def student, def display, some s is equal to student. The program is right or wrong? 100% the program is right. Here the variables are not available. Whenever you are creating an object, but where is the constructor? Remember, even though you are not returning any constructor, by default every program has one default constructor. Even though you are not returning, suppose if you return, then constructor is executed. If you are not written, every program must and should consist of one default constructor. That constructor is executed. That constructor is executed. If you execute this program, anyone try to solve, execute this program, hello is printed. Fine. Now I will move to the next important terms in the program. The next important terms you need to know. I think you understand this program. What are the important terms? Class name not required. These variables and methods. Remember, here in Python the variables are divided into three types. Similarly, the methods are also divided into three types. Sir, why we are using self keyword? I think everyone have one question. Self is used to refer the current object. Now I will give you the explanation. First, coming to variables. The variables are instance variable, static variable, and variables are divided into three types: instance variable, static variable, and local variable. Instance variable means instance. I think you listen that word, instance. Instance of a class is called object. So instance variables are called object level variable. Object level. Static variable are called class level variable. Local variable are called method level variable. Now these are very very important. Coming to method, three terms are there: instance method, class method, static method. Anyway, these are also important, but the most important thing, you need to learn about the variables. Simple thing. I will explain one by one. Understand carefully. Instance variable means the variables that belongs to an object. A variable that belongs to an object. Suppose in my program, three objects are available: S1, S2, S3. Each object have a separate memory. Each object have a separate memory. So your roll number one no, name ABC. Roll number two name XYZ. Roll number three name PQR. Each object have a separate memory. Each object have their own values. The share any copy own memory. Coming to this example, in this example we already executed practically, yes or no? Observe, student 1, student 1, roll number 1 no name ABC, age 20. Student 2, roll number 2, name XYZ, name age 30. Student 1 details not overlapped with student 2 details. Each one have their own copy, own memory locations. Here now, these instance variables, how do we recognize whether this is an instance variable or this is not an instance variable? How do we recognize? Simply we can create instance variable where inside a class, sorry, inside a constructor is there. Inside the constructor we can create an instance variable. Inside a method we can create instance variable. Third one is there, I will explain later. Inside the constructor, inside a method, by using self. One second, one second please. Hello.
Sir, screen is not visible, sir.
Okay, I will check.
Yeah, sir.
Yes. Now visible. Again, I shared the screen. Yes. Okay. Coming to here, inside the constructor, inside the method, and initially I used one word related to self. What is a self? To refer the current object, to refer the current object, yes or no? Instance variable belongs to object, instance variable belongs to object. That is the reason the variables that are accessed with self keyword, or the variable that are accessed with self keyword, are called instance variables. We can create instance variables inside the constructor with self parameter, inside the method with self parameter. This is an example. Now no need to learn new example. Inside the constructor, roll number, name, age, like this. Self comma any other suppose marks, self dot marks is equal to marks. Generally constructor is used for initialization. Why? While object creation, constructor is executed automatically, no need to call. But along with the constructor we can use the method also. Along with the constructor we can use the method also for initialization, like this. Here, here by using S1, only roll number, name, age are assigned. By using S2, roll number, name, age and assigned. Now S1 dot assign of some marks 870. S1 dot assign of some 90. Now I think you got it. So these two are not at all required. Now what happened here? We are calling, we are creating this one. Constructor is executed. Whenever you are calling, This assign method is executed. Now execute. Error. Student object have no attribute marks. Student object. One second. It is error. Name marks is equal to 90. Okay. Here S2. Not S1. Sorry, S2. Each student have separate S. Now observe here what happened. I used same S1, but S2 memory is not allocated. Why sharing is not possible? Each object have a separate memory. Each object have separate memory. Now everyone clear. This is the first point. Instance variable. Any variable inside a constructor, inside a method with self keyword. We can access the instance method here by using self. We can access by using self. Now, another one is there. Inside, everything is inside the class only. Outside is also possible by using object name. Generally, how we access outside? By using object name also. Anyway, these two are the most important. Now, second one, static variable. What is mean by static variable? A variable that belongs to a class. Class means we are defining the variable in a class. The variable is shared by all the objects. All the objects share a common name, share a common memory. Such variables are called static variable. Generally, these static variables are defined inside a class, outside the constructor, outside the method, like this. See this one here. Here we can define the static variable. For example, college name is equal to uh, this is my college name. Now, generally observe, student 1 fill the details, student 2, student 3, 5 students fill the details. Assume 5 students have same college. No need to give the values. So once we define a variable outside the constructor or outside the method directly, this variable is common to all the objects. Generally, we are using self keyword, but it is preferable to use the class or static variable by using class name. The static variable by using class name. Now see, print college name is equal to comma class name student dot. Now execute, run this. You got it? First student we got the college name, second student also we got the college name. Okay, so generally we are defining the class with static variable outside the class, sorry, outside the constructor and outside the method. That is not only the place, that is not only the place. We can create the static variable inside the constructor also. Inside the constructor also, here also it is possible, but by using class name. I think you got it. Anyway, you are using self means that is instance variable. If you are creating a variable by using class name, that is called static variable. Only difference, remember, self means instance, class name is constructor, class name is static variable. Whether directly you are writing outside, not a problem. Inside the constructor or inside the method, one is, what is the last one? Local variable. It's a very simple, a variable that is defined inside a method. A variable that is defined inside a method. Such a variable is called local variable. So for local variable, no self keyword, no class keyword, everything is available inside the method only. Suppose I will write here, suppose a is equal to 20, print a, completed, run. See, 20 is printed. Now you got the differences. Finally, by one statement, I will conclude this session. Observe, the variables are of three types. These are the most important thing. So the in first variable related to object. Each object have a separate memory. So generally, such variables are called instance variable. Instance variables are accessed by using self keyword inside a constructor or inside the method. Second variable is static variable. These are called class level variable. That means one variable common to all the objects. If all the objects share a common memory, so such variables are called static variable. Generally, the static variables are defined inside the class, but outside the constructor and outside the method. Simply at the beginning of the class, the first line inside the class. But that is not only the case. We can define inside the class also, but instead of self use the use the class name inside the constructor or inside the method. Third one is local variable, means a variable that is defined inside. Here no parameters are also there. Directly we are defined inside, use inside, and once we are coming out of the method, that variable is destroyed. Local to the method, such variable. These are the three variables. Now, in the next session, we will move to three types of methods. That is very simple. Instance method, static method, class method. That is a very simple topic. Once those are completed, we will move the next object-oriented programming principles, inheritance and polymorphism in the next session. So here change the student. If any error is there, we will resolve the error in the next session. Only practicing. Once all these concepts are completed, we will do one simple project related to these classes completely. Generally, while writing a program, these classes are not at all required. Basic English to tuples to basic things are required. But while doing projects, this plays very crucial role. Anyway, after completion of these concepts, we will do some project like bank transaction or ATM or hospitals. Like this, we will do one project also. But before going to the project, you need to learn all the basic things. That's the end of today's session. Any doubts? Place kuda add cheyochu. You can add anything. You can. So the variable names are not fixed. So randomly I taken the variable names. So one student, what is the difference between object and class? Simply, class is a structure that is used to generate objects. Class is not existed physically, but object is existed. Fruit is not existed. Apple is existed, orange is existed. That is the difference. Physical entity is called object, logical entity is called class. Any doubts? Is static variable shares same memory? Exactly. That's good question. Exactly. A variable is static. All the objects have common memory. Only one memory is created, that is shared by all the objects. Now, okay, fine. We'll close the session. Yes. Okay, good night. Thank you. Yes, yes. So continuously we are doing lead code now. That is the reason for 1 week we will do this object oriented. Again we will move back to lead code. Okay. Thank you very much. Good night.